Well, I don't know how to say this, but we have one more thing to do in the game because everything that we did so far is kind of terribly, terribly wrong. But we did it for a reason, and the reason was it was easier to think about at the time. But now we probably have to fix it because the way that your game works at the moment, if you enter a certain number of locations, I think it's about 1,000 or so, the game will crash. And I'll explain why now. So, computer memory works like this. It starts off opening a function, and in this case, it's the intro function. And the intro function, if you'll remember, our intro function calls another function called beach. And so the intro function stays open. The computer adds, this is called adding to the stack. This is called a stack in memory. And it opens up a function called beach. Then from the beach, we have the option of going to different places. We could go to the house. And if we decide to go to the house, the beach function opens up another function called house. I think you can see the problem with this and where this is going, because if we're at the house in the house function and the house function decides we're going back to the beach, it doesn't go back to the beach. It opens up another copy of beach. And when we get to about 1,000 of these, the computer decides that it's run out of space on the stack and it will crash the game. So, how do we fix this? Well, it's only about 3 lines of code, but it just might be a little bit difficult to understand. But bear with me and I'll try and explain it the best that I possibly can. So, basically, what we're going to do is we're not going to call intro. We are going to make a game loop, and let's make it a forever loop. I think that'll probably work. I mean, we can think more about that later, but it's going to be a forever loop. And before we open up the forever loop, this is in the start game section. I'm going to make a variable called next location. Now we can store text strings in variables, we can store numbers in variables, but we can also store functions in variables. So the next location before we started for me is going to be intro. Now I'm not going to write intro like this because when I write intro like this, the brackets there cause the intro function to run. I don't want to run the intro function, I just want to store it in next location. So next location is now just a label that points to the intro function. I can still call the intro function by writing intro and put the brackets, but I could also call next location. I could like this, and it should run the intro function, especially if I spell it correctly. That really helps. I'm just going to try and see if that um, works. Let's put past that. Okay. Okay, so that works. And then let's take that one step further and say, put that in the forever loop, run next location forever. I'm just going to keep running it. Oops, I just realized oh, okay. So next location, I'm actually going to make it not call beach because that's the whole problem is we keep doing that. So let's try that again. Okay, so it's just going to run over and over and over again. So now what we have is a much, much better situation where we have the intro function. The intro function runs, but it doesn't call something else and put it on top of it. It actually gets rid of the intro function, exits the intro function, goes back into this loop, and it gets called again. So we're only ever going to have one of the functions in our stack. So instead of getting up with a pile of more and more and more functions, we're only ever going to have one, which is really, really fantastic. But then the question becomes, I don't just want next location to always be intro. So how am I going to get next location to be something else? Okay, this is the part that may sort of stretch your brain a little bit, but just bear with me. And if it doesn't make 100% sense, you can still implement it, obviously. So we are not going to call beach here like this. We are actually going to return the function beach. Okay, so we're going to return the function beach. I didn't put the brackets on parentheses on there because I just want to return the function. Now, that means what it means is that when next location, I'm going to run next location, which happens to be intro. It's going to return the value beach a little bit like the input function does, and we store that somewhere. Where do I want to store the next location? I'm actually going to store the next location like this. So imagine, I know this looks really, really, really weird, but just imagine that this next location right now is not actually next location, it's intro. So we're running the intro function. The intro function is going to return the beach function, save it in here. That loop will finish. It will then run next location again, but this time it's not going to be intro, it's going to be beach. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Um, it is really, really weird. And there's probably a way easier way I could have done this and explained this, but that's the best I can do for now. So now what we need to do is we need to go through and change these. So wherever we see something like calling the forest function, I actually want to change that to return. The moment I write return, it's going to end the function, close it up, and give something back to the loop. In this case, I want to return forest. I believe, yep. Again, don't put the parentheses on it because I don't want it to run. I'm going to return house. And then in forest, I'm not going to run beach. I'm just going to return beach. Okay. Because beach is the only one I think I can access from there. At this stage, it might actually be good to look at your game design document and just make sure you're not missing anything. So from the house, you can do that. You can also, should be able to do Oracle from there. Oracle, and then Oracle, you should be able to, okay. It goes back to the intro. And, okay. Now, for testing purposes, I'm going to go to my print function here. And I'm actually going to comment this out. Actually, no, I won't. I'll just make the time really, really quick. Okay, let's try going to the forest. Just a reminder, every time I leave an area now and go somewhere else, it's not opening up a new function. It's actually, well, it is opening up a new function, but it's not opening up another one on top of what you're doing. It's closing the current one, returning the new function, and then it will run after that. So um, let's go back to the beach. Now, this beach function will now be the only one that is running. Okay. I may have made a mistake in here somewhere. If I have, then the game on the website will have a bug in it somewhere. Please let me know if that's the case. But hopefully that's working now. And I'm just going to change these times back so that it's a little bit more playable. And just a final quick reminder here, what's happening is at the start of the game, we're setting next location. Next location is just a label, and that's now pointing towards the intro function. So calling intro or calling next location will do the same thing. And then while true, we're setting next location to whatever's returned by the function that's currently being run. Okay, that'll fix our problems. We can wander aimlessly between rooms for eternity and, well, maybe not eternity. I'm sure something will go wrong in our computer before then, but we're not now limited to how big our stack is. Don't forget to save. Oh my goodness. Now I understand your pain.